Hi, welcome to Game Design. This is my intro course video. I'm recording this in January 2024 for the spring 2024 course. Um, so let's just jump in here. I'm in Unit 1 of the Bright Space course. I'm going to click on this Unit 1 overview course prep stuff. And again, this is going to get us into our course overview and syllabus and software setup. All this stuff is actually in Unit 0, which you may have already seen. So if I go to Unit 0, it's also linked in here. So a quick overview of the course. This is a intro to game design course. We try to teach you a bunch of stuff on game design, but I mean there are whole majors in game design, so we can just do a bit of a survey of this. We will do very much hands-on. We use the Unity game design engine to build games. We also use some 3D modeling. Show you that. We generally use Blender for that, which is a 3D modeling software. We do some audio editing, some graphic editing, that sort of stuff that you just need to do for game thing. In Unity, we program in C Sharp, which is very similar to Java, and we also use this in our software design course. So if you've taken our CIS 3285 software design course, you're probably somewhat familiar with C Sharp. If not, you should be okay. But we'll talk about some of the differences between Java and C Sharp, but it is very similar to Java. So assuming you've had Java before doing this, our CS 2085, 2087 courses, that should flow over pretty well here. We will introduce some design patterns and stuff and talk, because again, this is in our software design concentration, so we will focus a little bit more on software design and programming in parts of this, although you have some choice in this course on how much programming you want to focus on. But we will introduce some concepts that are also covered in much more detail in our software design course here. Like a number of the upper level courses I teach, this is a flex course. I'm teaching it both to online students and to face-to-face students. You are all mixed together in this bright space shell here together, and you'll be linked together. Part of the reason why I try to bring everyone together is that this is what, talking to alumni, I see out in the work spot place, is it's typical to have these hybrid teams where there might be people in the office, people might be in and out of the office, and people might be remote in a different country or different state. And it's important to be able to work with teams and stuff in different areas and just be able to communicate with other people. So I will have class every Tuesday and Thursday for the on-campus students. I will record those sessions and post them here. But there'll also be tutorials and other links every week, so you can do this entirely by doing the tutorials and that sort of stuff. You don't have to watch the class presentations. I will warn the in-class or the on-campus students, be careful you don't fall behind if you're not used to this. You know, Flex gives you some flexibility, and that gives you a little more flexibility to fail. So I typically see a couple students who take that flexibility and start to not come to class, and because they don't come to class, then they forget to do the assignments and they fall behind. And that is the most common reason for failing in this class, is students, particularly on-campus students, flexing a little bit too much. So here's your first warning. Assignments are in all my classes are due on Sunday nights and are submitted via Brightspace. So every unit will start Monday morning, basically, and all this stuff will be due on Sunday night for that. A little bit different teaching methodology in this course. Because again, this is kind of a game design course, and there's lots of options. There's just so much things you can do, different types of games. You know, maybe you're not so much interested in 2D platformer games, or you may be interested in first-person shooter, or maybe interested in a game layout rather than coding. There's so many options here. So what I've tried to do is every unit, I provide 40 points of different activities you can do for that unit, but you only have to do 20 points. In fact, you can only earn 20 points in the unit. So there's 40 points of activities, but you can only complete, well, you only get credit for doing 20 points of it. If you do 30 points, that's fine, but your grade will be maxed out at 20 points. So here's a typical unit. You might have 5 points for the discussion, 5 points for a quiz that you can take multiple times. Different learning activities or tutorials that you can go over, often worth 5 points each, short tutorials. An assignment worth 10 points and another assignment worth 10 points. And again, you have to select 20 points of this. So maybe you don't like to do discussions, you don't like to do quizzes, so skip those. Maybe do the 2 learning activities to just get you up to speed on stuff, and then pick one of the assignments, and that'll be 5, 5, and 10. That'll be your 20 points. So do that. So every unit you can choose different parts of this to do. So, all right. It's also project based. So this will be a typical unit. So units 1, 2, 3 will be this way, and unit 4 will be a project unit. And then we'll repeat units 5, 6, 7 will be again these 20-point units, and then we'll have a project unit. Project units are projects are worth 50 points. Except the final project was 100 points. So you want to certainly spend some time and focus on those project areas here. So we'll post those, and we'll spend a week every 4 weeks. So weeks 4, 8, 12, and then the final projects will be at the end, weeks 15 and 16 here. Most of them are individual projects. The third project is a forced group project, and then the final project can either be a group or individual project. So that's what you have looking forward. There isn't a textbook here. They become quite out of date quickly in this game design area, and so we were using a lot of the online learning resources posted by Unity and different developers. Unity has lately hired or paid a number of like YouTube creators to create tutorials and that sort of stuff for Unity. So there's a fair amount of pretty good content out there related to Unity and Unity tutorials and that sort of stuff. So we'll be relying on those for this. So that's an overview of the course. So let's talk a little bit about the syllabus. So pretty standard syllabus. Feel free to go over it, and feel free if you need to ask me any questions on it. It has my contact information. This is my cell phone stuff, so feel free to call or text me at any time. A lot of students will text me, like if they get stuck, just text me an image or a picture of the screen of what you're stuck on and ask me questions here. I have office hours on Wednesdays just before lunch, but I'm generally in my office from like 8 o'clock in the morning until about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and then I'm available evenings. I will have evening office hours posted on Zoom, so you'll be able to click on my Zoom appointment calendar. Certainly Sunday nights when the stuff I do on Sundays, but also we'll try to find 1 or 2 nights a week where you can schedule a Zoom appointment. But hopefully you're comfortable. You don't even have to do that. You can just text me and say, I'm having this, stuff, or email me. Can we just jump on Zoom or something like that? I get text messages on my phone faster than I get emails. So if you're wondering, if it's not a rush, certainly you can use email. But if you want a faster response, text message to this phone number is good also. And I always use this same Zoom link whenever we're meeting on Zoom or whatever. This is my Zoom room that we'll be using. So normal stuff here, you can read through the college outcomes, the assessments. Again, this goes over the fact that you will have to do 20 units out of the 40 units every unit, and then there are 4 projects here for this. And here's a general schedule of what we'll be doing throughout the course. So feel free to and then again, our normal policies and procedures. If you're not familiar with these are good to review. Okay, so that's our syllabus. Let's talk a little bit about software setup here. So again, we'll be using our Unity game engine. We'll be working to install this in the computer labs the first day of class. If you should try to install it on the fastest computer you have access to, because again, this is game design, and you will appreciate any speed you can get on any sort of stuff. You can download it on a Mac or a PC options for this. Um, so there are, you want to download the student or professional or personal edition of Game Engine. Now there is a student plan, which I actually recommend for students here. It gives you access to some additional resources and stuff like that. Um, Consider just signing up for the student plan here and getting that set up. Or there's just the free personal edition of this also. This is all done by installing something called Unity Hub. So whichever plan you do and you hit download, it'll download Unity Hub here. Once you install Unity Hub here, you will then install different versions of Unity. For this course, I decided to use the newest version of Unity. It's not a long-term support version, but it will be soon. But it again, it has some new features, and I think you might appreciate those as new students out there. So it's 2023.2.x. There's a lot of talk like recently. Unity is renumbering this, so this will soon be called, I think, Unity 6. So this is the version which will be renamed Unity 6, probably sometime during this semester. We'll see that happen, but this is what it's called now. So this is just a little video showing how to do that. Hit install, install others, select this version. You probably want to install Microsoft Visual Studio and the documentation. If you're interested in mobile design, you should maybe install Android Studio support or Android support or iOS support. You can only develop iOS apps if you're on a Mac here, and we'll talk about that more later in class. And again, those sorts of mobile stuff is just optional stuff. We'll also be doing some VR stuff with Oculus Rift in class. So if you're interested in that, we'll have an option to work on that also. So again, we'll be using Visual Studio Community Edition. If you don't already have Visual Studio installed, that should be selected automatically, and we'll be using that for our coding environment for this. So just install Unity and get that set up. It's a slow install, takes a while. I started this. Oh, it looks like I have it installed. So here's a Unity Hub here again, and so you should click on the installs, install an editor, and again, I have installed this version here. I also I generally install this version, long-term support version 2023, because I have that generally installed on my PCs too. But this is the one we'll mainly be using. And again, inside here, there are some learning hubs, and we'll talk about accessing some of these. We'll link into some of these from our class. And then normally you'll just see your projects. Initially, you will have no projects listed here, but eventually you will have a bunch. As you make projects, you'll see them here, and you can open them here. And this will show you what that. But we'll talk more about Unity once we get going. Okay, modeling software, will be using Blender. If you want to really get into modeling software, you can also work with Maya initially, which is a more professional version of this, but we'll tend to focus on Blender in this class, and that's what's installed in the computer labs. But again, that's later on in the course, so you don't have to worry about this yet. Some utility software, you'll need some. It's helpful to have a graphic editor. I will tend to point you to this PixLR or Pixlr -E version, which is a web-based browser similar to Photoshop. Some people like GIMP. I don't find that. I find that hard to use coming from a Photoshop world. Again, if you have access to Photoshop, that's fine too. But some sort of editor that's better than Paint. Something that has layers in it, basically, is what you need. And again, we'll talk about that later when we get to that point. And again, we'll be doing some sound editing. So we use Audacity as this free sound editor in the lab. So if you don't have that, you might want to use that. But again, you'll need some sort of sound editing software at some point in this class here. And again, we'll talk about that more when we get to those units. The main thing is just get Unity Game Engine installed this week for this. And so just a quick overview, this is what a typical unit will look like. We'll have some learning activities, some stuff I will go over in class and link the videos in here. But then there'll be these things like a discussion is worth 5 points, a quiz is worth 5 points, A learning activity is worth 5 points. Here's an assignment worth 10 points. Here's another learning activity worth 5 points, and then an assignment worth 10 points here. Um, and again, I'll have some topics in here. Often these might be stuff we'll go over in class, just walkthroughs of this sort of stuff. So in here will be some um, topics that we'll cover in class, and I'll try to often post the lectures, or when I cover them in class, we'll walk through these. In general, in class, we will, if you come to class, we will go through these topics and then do the learning activities in class here, and maybe talk about the assignments, but often may not get to those in class on the assumption that you can do those outside of class. So that's the typical thing. And again, you don't have to do all of those. You just have to do 20 points each unit of those. Okay, let me know if you have questions, and feel free to post questions about the course and that sort of stuff to this discussion area, and you get 5 points.